Tortoiseshell's been my pick of choice for years. I just love the way it feels in my hand, and I love the way it sounds. But I've always been on the lookout for something that I liked equally as well, whether that sounded exactly the same and felt exactly the same, or different but good. And so far, I haven't really found anything that makes me want to put the shell down and use a different pick. Even though I'd love to find something that's more sustainable and has less negative impact. I have a little collection of shell that I've kind of coveted over the years, and when that was out, it was out. So I've always been on the lookout. And I've tried students and fellow pickers blue chip picks before, but everyone I'd encountered was a thinner, like a 40 or a 50 gauge. And they were a little too bright and a little too thin for me, but the material felt real good in my hand. But I never had pursued it otherwise. So recently I decided to order up a couple of blue chip picks and try them out for myself. I knew I wanted a thicker pick than what I had encountered so far. So I first ordered the TPR 60, which has the rounded edges. I don't care for a real pointed point on my picks. I like the tips to be a little more rounded, or a little worn off kind of feeling about them. Not too round, but just a little bit, and that TPR had that aspect. So that came in, and I tell you what, I ordered it, I think it was on Friday, and it shipped about 10 minutes later. That's the fastest customer service I've ever seen. But it came right out, and it was here in the mail a couple days later. And my first impression was just really positive. The pick warmed up in my hand just like shell would do, and it felt real natural. And the tone was really, really good. The real thick and warm tone. The top end is a little different than with real shell, but it's not quite as crisp as the shell gets, but it's still a really nice top end. And for my ears, the upper mids were a little bit thicker than the shell pick I was using at the time. So I was real happy with the first impression of that pick. After I played with it for a few days, though, I realized it was a little smaller than I wanted it to be. It felt a little bit more like a mandolin pick to me than my guitar picks. So I went back to the website and saw that they had offered a larger one, which is the TAD, but it didn't show it with the rounded corners, just with the standard pointed tips. So I emailed them, and they said, we'll make whatever you want, just tell us what it is. And so I placed an order for the TAD, which they call the 3R. It has the 3 rounded points in the 60 gauge. And so it was I guess a special order, and it still showed up within a couple of days. So I've been not only impressed with the picks, but the customer service over at Blue Chip has just been unparalleled. I mean, I know some of these fancy picks you can wait a long time to get a hold of, and these guys just have it going on. They just turned it around real quick. So the TAD 3R showed up, and that's what I've been playing with for about the last week. And I tell you, I'm just really enjoying these picks. They're super fast feeling. They feel a little faster to me than the shell, at least unless my shell pick's been really polished lately. But these seem to be a little faster, and to my ears, the only real difference that I hear between the blue chip and the tortoiseshell is the top end's a little different. The top end on the tortoiseshell has just a little more sparkle than the blue chip does. And not necessarily saying that's good or bad, it's just different. And at this point, I feel like, yes, there's a difference between these two picks, but I have found a pick that I enjoy using as much as shell. It's just a little bit different, but it feels great to play with, feels great in my hand, and the tone, the output is just is really good. So far I'm really impressed with these blue chip picks, and I like the fact that they require no maintenance, and they're just or little maintenance, and they're just gonna do what they do and be around as long as I can hang on to it. So I'm gonna demo the TAD, the larger pick with the rounded corners, on my guitars. I'll play the Merrill here, and I'll play the Marty Lanham, and at some point I'm going to sneak in a short demo with the actual with my tortoiseshell pick, and then see if you guys can figure out which one's the shell and which one is the blue chip, and then I'll demo the other blue chip pick on mandolin.
you.